Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gayle Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everyone. We have some terrific guests today. She is Tracey Higley, and Tracy has been an entrepreneur since childhood, and she's currently CEO of several e-commerce and logistic companies. She's also a prolific author, having written over a dozen novels and nonfiction books. She's the founder and CEO of Impactivity, which coaches entrepreneurial women to thrive by integrating business, health, and spirituality. And she can be found at impactivity.com or Facebook and Instagram at Impactivity. Now, Tracy's got a great gift for us, so hold on to the very end because she's going to be telling us about it then. But let's find out more about Tracy. So, Tracy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. It's an exciting day in the retail world because everybody is shopping like crazy, and since I'm a retail store owner online, that's a good day for me.
That's fabulous. Well, I said that you're all about impactivity, but I'm not sure that our listeners really understand what that means. So why don't you explain what impactivity is?
Yeah, thank you. So, for all of my life, I've been a really productive person. That's just kind of my nature and how I like to do life, I guess. I'm all about productivity, always kind of seeking out the newest information and tips and tricks on how to be more productive. And along the way, I kind of realized that I was productive, but I wasn't sure if I was really fulfilling my purpose, if I was really pushing into things that really made a difference in the world, that really mattered to me. And I started to realize that I was not only interested in productivity, I was also interested in impact. And so as I've kind of come along that journey, I've had a desire building in me to share some of that with other people and coach other women, especially in that. And so I started thinking about this impact and productivity and put it all together into something that I kind of just coined the term impactivity to talk about being productive, having a productive life, but in the context of really making a difference in the world.
It's interesting, that we come up with our own definitions of things and create these words, and sometimes they even become part of the language, of the English language, because we use them so much.
Right.
But you say you've had this drive like forever, and I certainly get that because I'm that kind of person myself. But you say there are good and bad parts of living a multi-passionate life because you pursue so many different interests and you've been in so many different professions. So tell us a little bit about your story, what you've been through, all of that.
Yeah, I have been pursuing entrepreneurship, I would say, but also sort of this other track in my life of creativity since childhood. So always trying to start up little businesses, as the lemonade stand kid kind of thing with all different kinds of little businesses. And then even more, serious businesses as I got into my 20s, trying different things, seeing what might work. And along the way, I was also writing. I love to write. Writing stories was kind of a passion for me all through childhood and into my young adulthood. So had these two tracks going of creativity and entrepreneurship and very busy, trying all different things. And then, things started happening for me and I got my first novel published, and that was super exciting. And also had a business that kind of finally, kicked in and started taking off and doing well. And so life got busier and busier, had 4 kids and was trying to manage all of that. And I would say, to answer your question about the worst parts of living a multi-passionate life and really pursuing all the different things that we get interested in is just the burnout that can sort of inevitably come with being that busy and that productive and really just wanting to do all the different things, that interest us and that light us up. So I really do believe in being very careful and strategic and intentional about our lives, because I think otherwise they're either going to fizzle out because we burned too hard, or they're never going to ignite into what they could be because we just haven't been intentional enough about thinking about it. So the best part is that it's exciting and it's always something going on, and things are growing. But the worst part, yeah, go
but
ahead.
I would say that first of all, having done this with 4 children, that's an accomplishment in itself. And I'm sure there are many women out there who are juggling family and juggling, their careers, or trying to reach where they want to go if they have a business, that kind of thing. Did that really pose a huge problem for you, or what was it that made the difference for you in being able to combine those 2 things? Because one of the things that you always hear women talking about is the fact that, many of them are single moms and they're trying to do it all, and it's not easy to do. And you're all about, productivity and having an impact and being organized. And so how did you do all of that?
So for me, a really huge part of it is the spirituality part that you mentioned kind of at the start. And that is really understanding kind of who I am as a person and my relationship with God even. What does that mean about my life and having a purpose, and what am I really supposed to be doing with my life that I know is kind of aligned with who I was made to be. So being able to really zero in and focus on who I am, who I'm meant to be, and then kind of relaxing into that a little bit, I would say, like as intentional and strategic as I always want to be. I also feel like, it's not just all about me. I'm not the only person in this universe. I don't have to be the one who solves every problem and does everything. I can just relax into who I am and who I believe that God made me to be, and really just kind of focus on that and let some of that other stuff go. And the other part of letting go, really, I think, is letting go of the expectations of other people and the need to form our identity and feel good about ourselves based on how other people view us, because we get really caught up in a lot of that. We really can sometimes burn out just simply because we're trying to, impress other people to get them to admire us, or maybe just please other people to get them to love us. And when we can let some of that go, I really think that it calms things down a little. It makes us a little less frantic, I think.
Well, it's true. I think that many of us, me included, we do things for other people to recognize us and admire us and think we're great, and we're
Right.
nice people and all of that. And it takes a lot to let that go.
It does.
So why do you think that women in particular fail to discover a purpose for their life?
I think part of it is what we were just talking about, honestly. And with impactivity, I like to call it an adventure. We're all kind of living our own adventure, and everybody's living an adventure. And so they're always going to be trying to pull you into theirs. And we call that, other people's adventures, that we can get really caught up in really helping people with their adventures. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're obviously meant to serve each other and help each other. But sometimes if we haven't gotten really strategic and intentional about our own adventure, about our own dream, it's really easy to just kind of get pulled in and sucked along in the adventure of other people. And we really have to stop and give ourselves permission to do that. And I think women especially, I do believe that we're sort of geared toward serving and geared towards, pleasing and helping other people. And we never want to be selfish, and we're always trying to serve. And so while those are all fantastic things and they're really great parts of us, parts of our personality, sometimes if we haven't really given time to thinking about our own purpose and discovering our own dream, it's really easy to just kind of get pulled along into other people's adventures.
Well, of course, I'm going to ask you the big question after that. So how do we get past these blocks? This has been in our conditioning for a very long time. I tell you, I was so fortunate because I was raised by a mom who really made me so independent at a time when women were not independent, that I never really went through all of this. But what do you do to get through these blocks?
I think the very first thing is really just to realize that we all have a purpose. I think that might seem really obvious for some people, but for some people it's not. They're really just kind of going through life reacting to the things that come along, doing whatever seems logical as the next thing, just kind of stepping through life in that reactive sort of way. And so I think just realizing that, we each do have a purpose. We were each made for something, and we have specific gifts and passions, and we see things in the world a certain way. And all of that combines into something that gives us a purpose for our unique life, our unique adventure. So I think just realizing it is the first step. But then I think also we have to also realize that no one is going to swoop in and rescue us from the circumstances in our life that we feel like are blocking us.
There's no great, wonderful guy on a big white stallion that's going to ride
Not when
into
it
our
comes to
lives.
dreams. Nope, not when it comes to dreams, because everybody's pursuing their own thing, and that's okay. That's just, the way that humans are. But we have to be responsible for our own dreams. We have to say, yeah, nobody's going to come along and say, "Oh, you know what? You're doing too much over here. You should really stop and put your time and energy into this thing over here that you seem more made for." No one's going to do that. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to give ourselves permission. We have to see that that dream is there waiting for us. We have to figure it out. We have to realize no one's going to force us to do it. We have to take up that responsibility ourselves and walk into it. And none of that is easy. So, it's easier sometimes to just ride along and react. But I really think that that's a waste of our potential a lot of times.
Well, I do think that a lot of people operate out of fear. And when you operate out of fear, you really don't get anything done because you're always afraid that there's something or someone around the corner that's going to burst your bubble. And you've got to go for it. I mean, you got to know that there's going to be all kinds of things that happen, but it just you've got to find your way. So, what is your best advice for people? Because you work in really three areas of getting into publishing, because everybody, of course, wants to write a book, or into e-commerce, and of course, today I was laughing the other day. I was watching something on television. And the kids were doing something from the 20s, the 40s, the 30s, 40s, 50s. Anyway, they had never, ever seen a real telephone. That's number one. They had never seen a pay phone. They didn't know how to use it. They had to learn it to pretend for the show. And I thought, wow, little kids have no idea any of the things that, for example, I grew up with, or maybe you grew up with, but even general entrepreneurship. What are your best pieces of advice to our listeners?
So if I was going to be general about all of those different things that I'm involved in, and publishing and e-commerce and just business in general, my general advice would be to say, go for it, which is something that you've already said, I think. And that is, figure out that dream, figure out what you want to do, and just really kind of take it up and move forward into it. If I was going to give specific advice about publishing, I would say, for the first area, that, it's a different world now than it used to be. As you said, not just with telephones, but publishing as well has been significantly impacted by the new digital age that we live in. And so there are just more opportunities than ever to get your words out, get your message out to the world. And where there used to be gatekeepers of traditional publishing houses that were very, very hard to get into, that has disappeared. And so, really get into figuring out where your best opportunities might be. Do some research, figure it out. And maybe that is in publishing your own work in some way. Maybe it is still pursuing that traditional publishing avenue. And I've done both, and they both have pros and cons. So, there's so much information out there. I would say if that is an interest, just start digging in, start figuring it out. And I think the same is true with e-commerce and just online selling and all of that. There's so much information out there. If you're overwhelmed and you feel like you have a lack of clarity, but you know that your dream lies somewhere in this area of starting an online business, just start taking some initial steps to research and to figure things out, because there's so many resources out there. There's great podcasts, there's blogs, there's ebooks you can get. There are all kinds of stuff out there to figure out where your best niche would be. And I would say, especially if you have a product that is unique in some way and you have some desire to sell it, I would say, just figure out how to do it and move forward. That's all advice about getting into those areas. I think living the life of being in those areas and doing it well is another topic for conversation. But
that's a whole other story. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, but as far as getting started, just get started. That's the advice.
Well, the thing is, and I think this is important to mention, Tracy. People think even if you're published by a major house, you still have to do all the promotion. You still have to do all the marketing. There are very few top-notch authors that houses will do promotion on. They may publish your book, but they will only do that if you come to them with a complete marketing plan, which you are going to implement yourself. So it's important to say that whether you're going into publishing, or whether you're going into e-commerce, or whether you're going into brick and mortar business, it's up to you. It's up to you to get the word out, to do the publicity, to make sure the systems are in there, and to make sure what you're doing is working, because no one is going to do that except you. So that's a key important part. So you've been talking about spirituality a lot, and I would think that self-care really plays into that. And a lot of women really ignore their self-care, their health, I can do it all kind of thing. I have to do it all, as many of the mentalities.
Mm-hmm.
So where does self-care come into all of this and living a life of impact?
I think it's hugely important. And I would say that, there's kind of three areas. If you think about you're taking care of yourself, there's sort of the before, during, and after, if I like to think about it that way. So the before part of self-care is really taking the time to think about what brings me joy. Who am I as a person? What is my purpose? And that is a way of taking care of yourself, of taking the time to really think those things through. Give yourself the gift of time to think it through and to be intentional. And then there's the during, and that is sort of the energy piece, like we just really wear out. The older I get, the quicker I wear out, in fact, so there's that part of self-care that's just so critical to our energy, to figuring out what drains us and what pumps us up, and when the best time of the day is, and what are the things we need to do in order to really maintain the level of work and productivity and impact that we want. And then there's kind of the after of the self-care, and that's kind of the after the work is done. So that is a time for reflection. That is a time for reviewing, for getting apart again and just looking backward and saying, okay, what did I get done today or this week or this quarter or this year? And how do I want to tweak and change in order to move forward based on what I see myself doing in the past? So we've got to take care of ourselves at all points along that journey. It's all really important.
Okay, so here we are. Being very aware of what it is that we need to do in order to live this fulfilled life. But what do you say are some of the best ways to fit more into a day or a week or a life?
Well, I've talked about intentionality a lot already, and I think that's the first piece of that is just being strategic, is setting aside the time to really look at your life, to look at your dreams, to really think it through, and to figure out what it is you're trying to do. And then when it comes to figuring out how you're going to try to do it, which is a big part of this question for us because we're already very busy. And when we start talking about adding something or, dreaming about something, it feels overwhelming because we're already usually pretty maxed out. I think that there's a few different things. One of them is just creating a system for your life. I really advocate having a trusted system where you are keeping track of everything in your life. You have one place to check where all your to-dos and your reminders and your tasks and all of that. We're so likely to have things scattered all over the place, on our desk and in our purse and in our heads and on a wall calendar and on a digital calendar and in our email inbox. And, the to-dos are everywhere in our lives. And so getting one trusted system is really critical way, I think, to fit more in. And then I would say my other top tip that I usually coach people with is setting up habits and routines for your day. And I think this is also just a really, really powerful thing. We only have so much willpower in a day, so much ability to make choices and to force ourselves into things that are hard, creatively difficult for us or physically difficult, whatever. And so if we can set up habits for our lives where the choice is kind of removed, you just get up and this is what you do. This is the 2, 3, 4, 5 things you do every morning to keep yourself healthy. It's going to go a long way to being able to fit more in, avoid procrastination and all of that, in especially those healthy actions that we really need to do every day.
So what happens if I don't have a dream? I mean, I can't even imagine that because I've been dreaming all my life. But what happens if you don't have a dream? Do you think there are people who kind of just go through life and don't have a dream? I mean, wouldn't every person have a dream of some sort?
I guess it depends on how you define dream. I think that probably most people have something tickling at them. They've got something that's sort of been there buried for a long time, probably since childhood on some level, some part of it. So I would say in that way, I think everyone does have a dream because I think it's been it's been ingrained in them and created in them, and it's there, But how much attention we give that and how much we turn that from just something vague and fuzzy that's sort of in the distance and far away and maybe and someday, how much we take that and then we start to really distill it down into a vision that we can be strategic about. I think there's a lot of people that never get to that point, that never get to the point of being strategic because life is busy and they just, like I said, they kind of go into reactive mode. So I think if you don't have a dream, I think, or you don't have something concrete enough to actually take step one, I would say you've got to find it. You've just got to. I mean, that's part of living a life that doesn't have any regrets, right? It's finding that dream and that purpose. And life is short. We've got to make it count. This is the life we've got. We've got to push into whatever that purpose is for ourselves. But in some ways, life is also long, and so you've got time. No matter where you are in the journey, you've got time to get strategic and think about the next phase of your life and what that might be and how you can put your unique self into whatever is next for you.
So if you are doing all of these things, I mean, you're all over the place, you're doing, 3 different genres really, how do relationships fit into a busy life? And why are they critical? And do women screw them up more than men, or do men screw them up more than women?
I don't know about that last part. For me, relationships are challenging. So, I am just a doer and I'm a lot more task oriented than people oriented. So, I think the standard answer is that, women do relationships better. I haven't found that to be true in my own life. So I do think it's a personality thing, and maybe there's some generalities, but I do think as much as I say I'm task oriented and not people oriented, that relationships are critical. And there's a lot of different reasons. And one is just, they're refreshing, they're rejuvenating, they're part of what gives us our energy back. But another is that they're also reflective. We're able to see ourselves in our relationships. So in the reactions that people have to us or the ways in which they encourage us or even discourage us, we're able to really understand ourselves better in that. I think we need friends for emotional support in whatever dream we're pursuing, but we need also, I think, people who are pursuing dreams of their own and can kind of come alongside of us and be part of that with us, whether or not they're joined in our dream or, our adventure, or we're just kind of pursuing it side by side, our own 2 different things. There's some real energy that happens in that when we can have people alongside of us in sort of more a professional type way too. So yeah, I think all of those relationships are really critical.
So let's tell people how to find you. Let's tell them about the gift you have for them. Where is the best way to find you and contact you?
So if you're interested in impactivity, then I would say, find me at impactivity.com, and you can find Impactivity. It's just how it sounds on Facebook and Instagram for some different inspiring things and challenging things that we've got there. Lots of different resources at Impactivity. I'm also at my own personal website at traceyhigley.com. It's TracyHigley. But at impactivity.com/purpose, I do have something for your listeners, and that is a 3-step guide to discovering your purpose. So we've been talking a lot about, just trying to figure that out. Like, what is next for me? What's next in this phase? Am I really pushing into a dream, or am I just kind of letting things be vague and fuzzy in my life? So at impactivity.com/purpose, there's a free PDF there, free guide that is a 3-step guide to discovering your purpose. And it's basically just this really simple process that is going to give you so much clarity in figuring out what is next for you in a dream.
Wow, that's fabulous. Okay, folks, so you heard it here. If you are interested in finding out about this 3-step process, because, Tracy's got it figured out. So, and she's successful in all 3 areas. That's the key. And she's living a happy life. And this is all about living regret-free. So she's giving you the answers right here. Go to that website, Impactivity, IMPACTIVITY, impactivity.com/purpose. And she has there a short ebook that walks you through a simple 3-step process to discover the unique purpose for your next phase of your life. And you can't get better than that. So, Tracy, this has been wonderful. This has just been a delight. And hopefully this will give our listeners a way to start off the new year with a little more clarity and a little more energy and a little more enthusiasm about where they are. Because, you can get into a funk sometimes, especially around holidays. It's interesting. some people react positive to holidays, and some people get in a depressed mood. So this will give them a real purpose for everything. Thank you so much for being with us today, Tracy. It's been a delight, and we're so glad you were with us. I want to wish you a happy holiday season, and to everyone as well. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.